Hey, it's me, Tina V, and I'm your host of The Tina V Show. And we have a great show ahead of us today with a very serious topic. I have two very special guests here with me from the awesome foundation founded by Chad and his beautiful wife, Kathy Robichaux. The Mighty Oaks Foundation is completely committed to serving brokenhearted by providing intensive peer-based discipleship through series of programs, outpost meetings, and speaking events. The Mighty Oaks Warrior Programs host men, women, mentorship, and marriage advance programs at multiple locations nationwide. And the warriors who are fortunate enough to attend are fully sponsored for training, meals, and lodging to ensure that upon arrival to the ranch, each warrior is focused solely on his or her recovery and identifying purpose for moving forward. So after this break, I'd like to welcome here today Justin Howell, DC Outpost Leader and Mighty Oaks Instructor, and Rich Green, Outpost Leader, also Mighty Oaks Instructor. Welcome.
Get up on your feet.
Well, guys, I can't thank you enough. First of all, I want to thank you all for your service. I have a son that's in the military as well, and my heart goes out to you guys. And excuse me if I get a little bit emotional, but I do appreciate everything and what God has done in your lives to help us out. So we're here, and we're going to chat a little bit in a little while about Justin and Rich before we get into a lot of other things. So share with me a little bit, talk to me a little bit about what's going on in your life and a little bit about yourself.
And I want to thank you for the opportunity just to be here, just to give God's testimony in my life and Richard's life. So, It's a little about myself. Now I'm in law enforcement now, and I have a great opportunity just to speak on the behalf of Mighty Oaks Foundation and what God has done in my life. And He's changed dramatically since February 2015 and now. And it's just to see the lives being changed off just giving my testimony and digging deep into my emotions, just kind of getting things out. It's kind of worth everything I've been through.
Okay, that's awesome. And we're going to talk more later in the show about a lot of good things that's happening in your life and with the organization. Rich, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, retired Army Command Sergeant Major. It was a great time, but it was obvious that there was time to move on and do something else. And a door opened up to get involved with Mighty Oaks first just as a student and go through it, but then to be asked back to get involved in a deeper level and to go through the instructor training and do other things. It just really shows that, like Mark Twain said, the two most important times in a man's life are the day he was born and the day he finds out why. And for me, the second part is what's more important, because I realized that Mighty Oaks, this is why.
Wow, that's awesome. Exactly. How long have you been out of the service?
I've been out since 2013 now.
2013, and you?
Same thing, 2013.
Wow. So you're in law enforcement, and you do something else as well.
Right. I'm the executive pastor of the church here at Washington Community Church in Alexandria, Virginia.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And we, like I said before, we have a great show, and we have a lot that we want to do and a lot that we want to talk about and a lot that we want to know. What we're going to do right now is we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking more in depth with Justin Howell after this inspiring video. Take a look.
My name's Rusty Brooks. I served with 1-7 Scout Sniper Platoon, 2004, 2005. I was married when I went to Iraq, and a guy's only real link to humanity is somebody you can talk to when he was over there. And mine just so happened to get pregnant with my neighbor, and she informed me of that when I was still in Iraq. So I just cut it off. I filled my heart with hate. You know, I was going down a dark road after I got home, and I got a call from one of my buddies that one of my good friends was killed. I got a bottle of whiskey and drove over to a friend's house and told him, look, I'm out of my head right now. You know, I need you to watch after me. By the end of the night, he was so drunk, he drove us into a tree at about 120 miles an hour. And they life flighted me to the hospital. I died twice in the ER. I lost 80 pounds in 2 weeks in a coma, lost my leg. I went down to a hotel and I wrote like a 3-page letter to my mom. I figured if I got drunk enough, I'd be able to pull the trigger. But what kept me from doing that was I couldn't send that letter to my mom. And I ended up out here at Sky Rose Ranch.
Sky Rose Ranch is a place that we bring veterans to heal. We have a veteran suicide rate of 23 a day and a divorce rate of 80 to 90% in our combat veterans. So our #1 goal with the program is to combat those statistics, bringing a Christ-based healing to these warriors who risked it all and gave it all for our freedom.
When they get here, the walls come down pretty quick because the service and the environment that we provide for them helps those walls to come down.
Through the programs we've had for 3.5 years now, we've had hundreds of guys come through, and we've had 0 suicides. In our marriage programs, we had 0 divorces.
Those sacrifices have cost them something. In order to go ahead and get back to balance, they may need a little extra time, maybe a little extra care. That's what we do.
It's kind of rebuilding a new brotherhood outside of the Marine Corps, outside of the Army, whatever branch of service that you served in. If you're kind of lost in the world, it seems like this is a great place to find yourself. And sometimes I come out here and just sit on the side of a hill and just talk to God.
I've seen Rusty Brooks make a change in his life. Once that passion for life came back into Rusty, he couldn't help but share it with other people.
And we all come together with each other to help each other stay focused on our goals, you know, because no man fights alone. I would say that the best 2 days of a man's life is the day he's born and the day he finds out why. Life is actually pretty awesome. If you change your mind, you can change the whole world around you. There's good and evil fighting inside of everybody, and if you can see the positive, then you can live an awesome life.
Welcome back to the Tina V Show. I am here with Justin Howell, and we have some in-depth questions that I want to just kind of get to know you a little bit better, talk about the organization a little bit more, and to get into you know, what's coming down the pike, but we'll do that a little bit later.
Okay.
But what or who validated you, Justin, at a young age, and how did they do it? What was their inspiration?
I would say more than anybody, my mom was definitely that person that just definitely validated me, kind of an inspiration. A childhood, which you'll hear about later,
Yeah.
it wasn't great. So I just saw how my mom would fight constantly, and that's kind of where I got that fighting mentality from. Is just to see her take 6 of us kids and raise us to be God-fearing people, but
Yeah.
God-loving people.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. So I guess, I mean, what you even was saying is that she just kind of stepped up to the plate and just kind of took over everything and getting you to be the person that you are right now. I call you a warrior, you know, and well, you're a hero to me too.
Right,
I mean,
thank
I
you.
love you guys, and I can't say thank you enough for that. But I really do appreciate that, being a mom myself. But let's talk a little bit about how the Fight Club and why the Fight Club. How did you get involved?
Well, how I got the Fight Club is never like an awesome story that you want to tell people, but
Yeah.
I hit a rock bottom in my life for a long time, from taking stuff from my childhood and going to the Marine Corps and then going overseas. It's just a lot of stuff happened in between my childhood and there. That just really made me lose my identity for a while, so I started to start drinking heavily. But everybody on the outside would see it as social drinking, as going out and getting drunk with friends. But for me, it was just really bearing stuff inside, and those are my moments I could be happy, kind of. And so about 2014, you know, New Year's is when I had God just kind of had a God moment with me, and you know, I just went out drunk in New Year's and got in a fight like always. That's what happened. That's what I would always do, and it didn't end really well there. I mean, things would happen. I got home and hit a nice little depression point, went to sleep, and had a dream, actually, that really just touched my life. It was a dream where I was laying in bed, and I just felt different things kind of pulling me left and right, and I couldn't wake up. And I mean, it's normal dreams that I kind of always have, but this one was kind of more touchy for me. It was really dark, and I could not wake up for anything. And I finally did, and I just started crying, and the first thought that came to my mind, and I know it was God, was, you know, if you continue on this path, there's nothing I can do for you. And at that moment, I knew that I wanted to strive to stop drinking and stop dipping, because I knew those two things were trying to ease my mind. It was my coping mechanism. Thank God I never got into drugs, but alcohol was my drug, and it was tough. But before that, I've had a lot of suicide thoughts in my mind, just to say it's not worth it anymore. And you know, and it's just going back to my childhood. It's kind of crazy. When my childhood was rough, I would join, like, my thing was G.I. Joe toys. I've always liked being a Marine and being a cop, so.
I like G.I. Joe myself,
yeah,
so.
Those toys were it. So every time something would happen to me or my family member and I witnessed it as a child, I would go to my little safe corner and I'd play with my G.I. Joe toys, and same thing. So when I come back from combat and doing that, it all came back again. So I'm like, well, I need to go back, because that's kind of like how I did as a kid, and I want to go back. And when the opportunity wasn't presented to me anymore, it was really tough.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, and that just kind of led you into what you're doing now, and we don't have to go into depth about it, but I mean, because I know you still protect us out here.
Yes.
So, let me ask you a question. Is that something that, is it a big percentage of military? Do they come out and become officers of the law, or?
They do, and I strongly believe, because for me, it was something that I can transition to pretty easy.
Yeah.
And I knew, I was like, okay, it's the same mentality.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
go
I'll
out
be
there
scared
and
of you, you know.
You do the same thing, and that's why I don't want people to be. So it's the same mentality, so you just kind of turn it from the military side to law enforcement side.
Wow,
but the
that's
thing with us, is, especially veterans that have been in combat, it's hard for us to go from this high point to this point, because it's different mentality. I mean, when you're over there, it's all there. When you're done. But here, it escalates, and then you try to drop yourself down if the person calms down. And at us, as soon as we're left up in this high level adrenaline, it's kind of hard to bring us back down.
Yeah.
And that's the toughest part about the job when I first started doing it. Before Mighty Oaks.
If you don't mind, can you talk to us a little bit about some of your experiences over on your tours, or the friendships you made, some of the friendships that you may have lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's all so interesting, and you know, we just want to continue to support you guys. Seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a Marine, and when I deployed, I was the gunner, which is on top of the vehicle. If you guys don't know, it's the person that's holding the gun on top, and I was the lead gunner. So if anything, when we're going to convoys and missions, my job is to identify any possible IEDs that might be in the area, or enemies that are on the left or right, whatever. So I got to make sure it's clear. So that was my job. And through that job, you know, some things don't happen the way you want it to, and things happen, and then you start to blame yourself. And for me, because I deployed to Ramadi, Iraq, and for me, that happened one time that I can that touched me, is the point where we were on a mission going to Bahariya at the time from Ramadi, and it was a really quick mission. We had to get there at a certain time and pick up an individual, come back, and I saw something that was possibly an IED. It was an animal, but I knew we had to get there at a certain time, and I just marked it and just said, let's keep pushing. Usually we call EOD, which, you know, we stop and wait, but I knew it was going to take a long time for that. So I decided to keep pushing, and then when we got there safe, but then we received radio, hey, we're not going to be able to leave anytime soon, because there's been a delay because another convoy behind us on a different unit had hit that IED. So that injured some Marines. So that affected me, and also dealing with losing 2 Marines and that were close to me and my friends, my childhood. So that definitely took a toll.
Well, yeah, that's enough to, you know, to send anybody kind of over. But real quick before we go to another break, while I have you up here, after all this, what is your dream vacation? What would be your dream vacation? I mean, because you never know. Somebody might be out there wanting to bless you with it. So, hey.
My dream vacation, and it's crazy as it, and I think a lot of veterans are the same way. My dream vacation is not, it's not sitting on a beach relaxing, and it's not because this is not me, I gotta keep moving. My dream vacation is actually just going to somewhere to like Thailand or somewhere where it's less unfortunate for people and just spreading the word of God, honestly. And it's crazy to say, but
I know,
where
that's
I've been
right.
in my life,
That's awesome.
I don't need a vacation anymore. I just
Yeah.
need to keep working, and that's my vacation. Because honestly, nothing makes me feel better than what I do when I see a veteran or an individual be touched by my story, because it puts light on my life. And for me, that's a vacation.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
And that's a weird answer, but that's,
no,
that's
it's
what
great.
It is.
No, it is what it is,
Yeah.
like you said, and I appreciate your truth, you know, and your transparency as well. And you're a great guy. I love meeting you and just kind of hanging out with you. And we'll be right back after the break with Rich Green.
There was the explosion, and I remember just opening my eyes, and it got both of my legs. I had surgery after surgery, and what's going to happen next? The Wounded Warrior Project said, look, brother, everything's going to be okay. 3 months from now, 4 months from now, a year from now, you'll be fine. I don't know if I would be as well adjusted as I am now if it wasn't for them.
To learn more, call 1-877-832-6997 or visit woundedwarriorproject.org.
And we're back with Rich Green of the Mighty Oaks Foundation. Thank you so much again, and we're going to get right to it. When did you feel responsible as a young man? I mean, because you went straight from being a young man into the military and things. When did you first feel responsible?
Well, for me, that's easy. My grandfather is one of those old school grandfathers that you look up to. And his name was Cliff Green. He just passed away a couple of years ago, but he was one of those men that just, where he walked, you wanted to be in his shadow. He led by example. World War II veteran. He was a radio man, sonar guy, and on a cruiser in World War II. And he'd always told us that when you're asked to do something, do it, because there's a reason somebody asked you. So his big story about that was in World War II. They were in the Battle of the Coral Sea, and as he was, as the battle was going on, his chief came down and says, "Green, I need you up on deck because our gunner got killed." And he's like, "I'm a sonar man. My hearing's important." And he goes, "We're not going to need sonar if we don't get out of this battle." And so he did that quick risk assessment matrix and said, "I'm up there." And it probably was one of the crucible moments of his life when he says, "You know what? Everybody else is more important than me." And that's what he kept pointing all my cousins to when we grew up. You may have a job to do, but when you know that you're needed and you're asked, go.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like how I got invited or involved in Mighty Oaks.
Okay.
24 and a half years in the Army, great opportunities left and right. But everything in the Army isn't the greatest. Everybody's exposed to different things. The Army was such an opportunity for me. But right off the bat, in basic training, I had my first concussion. Something happened. Over the course of 24 years, I had 6 concussions. When they're processing you out and they look back over your records and they go, "Wow, we probably should have looked at some of this in depth." As a leader, as you get up to in different positions, you don't want to go back and say, "Yeah, I have problems with this and that," because you're not going to get asked to take the next job generally in some of those situations. But I had the opportunity to go to Egypt to be the Brigade Command Sergeant Major of Task Force Sinai in Egypt. And while I was over there, we were doing combatives, and one of the soldiers accidentally had me up and dropped me down right on top of my head, and I don't remember much after that. But that set on all kinds of the PTSD issues that I had to deal with for the next couple of years. Ended up when I got out, it created a situation where I basically couldn't go on with what I was doing.
Absolutely.
When I got out of the Army, I had the opportunity to come up to DC and help out my pastor, because he's like, hey, you were a sergeant major, you can figure some of this stuff out. Come help me with, with the church, help grow it, help organize.
Awesome.
And I was able to help him up, and I got invited to a Mighty Oaks event.
Okay.
And that's where the whole Mark Twain thing I mentioned
Right,
earlier
yes,
comes
yes.
in. Because I was able to see that there were other guys struggling with the same issues that I was struggling with. Other guys that had nightmares about things they were with. Other guys that were short-tempered.
Sure.
And when you realize, and we see what's on TV, the picture of, oh, he's a vet with PTSD, oh, he's that. No, I don't claim that label. That was what I went through. Those were issues I had, but that's not who I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mighty Oaks was able to get out the message to me and for other people to hear, but me specifically, that PTSD is something that happened to you. It's a body's natural response to an unnatural situation.
Yeah.
And you're able to, some guys just take that and park and say, well, this is just who I am now.
Wow.
What Mighty Oaks does is Mighty Oaks says, well, wait a minute. It's not a give a vet a hug organization. This is a poke a vet in the chest organization. You were able
like
to go
that.
through basic training. You were able to become special forces or a SEAL or a Ranger to do what you needed to do at a moment's notice and move forward. Why is it that you're going to take this setback, this thing that happened to you, and stop? Take the challenge of, like you did in basic training, like you did on the battlefront, to push through and meet the mission. Do that as a man. Do that as a father. Do that as a husband.
That's awesome.
Mighty Oaks takes that and applies it to some very simple and applicable Bible examples of this is what you can do. Now, do it. Don't debate about it. Go do it.
This is awesome.
And meeting men like Justin. Justin actually was my Mighty Oaks instructor, which is why I think we make a good pair, because
Incredible.
he
I love that.
just led me into it. Showed me more about Mighty Oaks, and they gave me the chance to talk to other men about it. And now,
and that's your why.
That's my why, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. And to hear you compare your granddad and how things, and it's just legacy, and it has to start somewhere. But I appreciate everything that you've done to be able to allow me to be who I am in my country. But you had touched on something, and I kind of wanted to go back, and that was the why. You gave as a good explanation of why, but why specifically the Mighty Oaks Foundation? Briefly, real quick.
Because Mighty Oaks reaches out to men who need it and may not know that they need it. I was there and I didn't understand all that I was dealing with. I just was dealing with it. And it's sometimes not very well.
Wow.
I mean, you can ask my wife about that.
Yeah, I was doing a little bit of research, and the statistics are amazing. Amazingly sad because of the. Can you share some of the suicide rate?
Well, the reported numbers are 22 veterans a day take their life, but not every state reports those numbers. So if you ask any veteran, do you know somebody that's attempted or succeeded in committing suicide? When we asked that in Fight Club in Mighty Oaks, everybody puts their hands up.
Yeah.
So that's why I needed to get involved.
Okay.
Like my grandpa says, when you know, you go.
Yeah.
I knew it, and that's why I'm here today.
Well, that's awesome. And we'll be right back with Rich Green and Justin Howell, Mighty Oaks Foundation.
After leaving the military, some veterans may face homelessness, but they aren't alone in the battle. Thanks to a simple phone call, they can get help from a trained professional at VA. If you know of or are a veteran in need, call 877-424-3838.
And we're back with Justin and Rich of the Mighty Oaks. Justin, real quick before we move forward and talk about some special events and things that's coming up, tell me real quick about the why the Mighty Oaks for you.
For me, it's because I knew how I felt when I was at the lowest I could get.
Okay.
And when I wanted to commit suicide and I had nothing left and everything was taken from me at one specific time. So when I went to Mighty Oaks and they challenged me with it, no man fights alone, or some things are worth fighting for in your life, I realized at that moment why I kind of first joined the Marine Corps, and it was just to help veterans find Christ. And now that I have the opportunity after losing two great friends of mine in Iraq and Afghanistan. I don't want to lose any other friends or anybody, veterans out there, without let them hear the word of Christ. And that's kind of what my motivation is now is, you know, I can keep fighting because there's individuals like Rich Green that I got a chance to meet to be his instructor that just had a close relationship with Christ, and now it's not a factor anymore. Now I know leaving this, if he ever, God forbid, anything happens to him, I know that he's taken care of. And that's kind of like my motivation now, is that every veteran just needs to hear about Christ, and if I can do that, then.
Okay, that's an awesome why. Now, real quick, we have, I say we because, you know, you guys are family, some awesome events and things coming up. Let's talk a little bit about that. I know one in particular. Rich, you want to touch bases on that and let us know when?
It's the Mighty Oaks Gala. It's kind of the graduation of the Mighty Oaks Warrior program, the Fight Club for the week. That ends April 15th. It's going to be at the Life Church in Manassas on Balls Road. The neat part about that is the community can get together and see what the graduation's like. Hear the stories of the people that went through it, hear the founders, Chad Robichaux, Jeremy Stallnecker, hear their stories and why it's important. See men whose lives have been changed, who kept fighting through what was put in their way, have been successful and are going to be successful. Fathers, husbands, and men in their communities.
Awesome. So, Justin, tell us what we can do as a community and as a nation to help the foundation.
First, it's just spreading the word, honestly, about this program, just so we can get out to a lot of veterans here in Virginia. It's not as big as it is in California, so we want to spread it out, because there's a lot of veterans, as everybody knows, here in the Virginia area that are really hurting. So, but there's more information on the website that is shown there, and they can look on this website there, and there's a lot of tabs that show how they can donate their time and spread the word.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you guys again. Okay, that was great talking and getting to know more about the Mighty Oaks Foundation. I'm looking forward to the upcoming events, especially the gala hosted by Pastor David and the Life Church. We have details on the screen for you to check out, www.themightyoaksprogram.org. As always, Virginia is for lovers. Also visit us online at www.thetinavshow.com to learn more about Project Infusion and The Breathing Room. And always giving thanks and much appreciation to Daddy God. Thanks again, and we'll talk more next time. And remember, you never will have what you don't see.